Imagine living in a huge mansion where every curtain must stay closed, every door must be locked, and sunlight itself could be deadly. Now imagine hearing footsteps in empty rooms, voices behind locked doors, and seeing people who shouldn't even be there. Today's movie is The Others, a psychological horror film that proves you don't need jump scares to terrify an audience. Let's get into it. The story begins shortly after World War II. A woman named Grace lives in a massive old mansion located far away from other people. She lives there with her 2 children, Anne and Nicholas. At first glance, the house looks beautiful, but there is one strange rule. Every room must remain dark, no exceptions. That's because Grace's children suffer from a rare condition that makes sunlight extremely dangerous for them. Because of this, every window is covered with heavy curtains. Before one door can be opened, another must be closed. It's a strict system that Grace enforces every single day. Right away, the movie creates an uncomfortable atmosphere. The house feels less like a home and more like a prison. The children barely leave. The mother is extremely strict, and there is always a feeling that something isn't quite right. One morning, 3 mysterious servants arrive at the mansion. An older woman named Mrs. Mills, a gardener named Mr. Tuttle, and a quiet young woman named Lydia. They claim they used to work at the house years ago and are looking for employment. Since Grace desperately needs help managing such a large property, she hires them. At first, everything seems normal. The servants work hard. The children begin spending time with them. Life continues as usual. But little by little, strange things start happening. And begins talking about a boy named Victor. According to her, Victor has been appearing inside the house. He sits in rooms, watches them, and sometimes talks to her. Naturally, Grace believes and is simply imagining things. After all, children often create imaginary friends. But Anne insists Victor is real. And the more she talks about him, the more uncomfortable everyone becomes. Soon, odd events begin happening around the mansion. Footsteps echo through empty hallways. Doors open on their own. Objects appear in places where nobody left them. Sometimes it sounds like people are moving around upstairs even though nobody should be there. Grace tries to stay calm. She searches the house, checks every room, and repeatedly tells herself there must be a logical explanation. But deep down, even she is beginning to feel afraid. One of the things that makes this movie so effective is its use of silence. Instead of loud noises and constant scares, it slowly builds tension. Every creaking floorboard feels important. Every shadow feels suspicious. And because the house is always dark, viewers constantly feel like something could appear at any moment. Even when nothing happens, you're still nervous. That's what makes the atmosphere so powerful. As days pass, Grace becomes increasingly convinced that someone else is inside the mansion. She hears voices. She hears movement, and sometimes it feels like unseen eyes are watching her family. The children become frightened, especially Nicholas, who starts believing the house may actually be haunted, and however, seems strangely fascinated by everything. She keeps insisting that Victor and his family are real, and according to her, they're getting closer. Things become even stranger when Grace discovers a collection of old photographs. But these aren't ordinary family pictures. They're photographs of people who have already died. The images disturb her deeply, and from that moment forward, her fear begins turning into obsession. She becomes desperate to understand what is happening inside the house. Who are these mysterious visitors? Why does Anne keep seeing them? And why do the strange events keep increasing? Meanwhile, the servants often behave suspiciously. Sometimes they seem to know things they shouldn't know. Other times they exchange strange looks with one another. Mrs. Mills, in particular, always seems calm, almost too calm. Even when frightening events occur, she acts as though everything is unfolding exactly as expected. Grace notices this, and it only increases her distrust. One day, while exploring the property, Grace experiences something unexpected. Through the thick fog surrounding the mansion, she encounters someone she never expected to see, someone connected to her past. The meeting leaves her emotional, confused, and even more uncertain about reality. For a brief moment, She believes things might finally return to normal, but the feeling doesn't last. The strange activity inside the house continues, and it becomes harder to ignore. Soon, the disturbances reach a new level. The sounds become louder, the sightings become more frequent, and even Grace begins witnessing things she cannot explain. Now it's no longer just and claiming someone is there. Grace herself starts believing the mansion may truly be haunted. The fear spreads throughout the household. Nobody feels safe anymore. Not in the bedrooms, not in the hallways, not even during daylight hours. What makes The Others different from most horror films is that it relies on mystery instead of monsters. The movie constantly asks questions. Who is Victor? Why do the servants seem so unusual? Who is making all these noises? And what exactly happened in this house before everyone arrived? The answers never come easily. Instead, the movie slowly gives viewers pieces of a puzzle, and each new clue only creates more questions. As the story moves forward, tensions between Grace and her children begin growing, and becomes increasingly rebellious. Nicholas becomes increasingly scared, and Grace herself begins struggling to separate reality from fear. The house feels alive. The walls seem to hold secrets, and every room appears to hide another mystery. By this point, Grace becomes determined to protect her children at all costs. No matter what is lurking inside the mansion, no matter who may be hiding in the shadows, and no matter how terrifying the truth might be, she refuses to leave, because she believes this house belongs to her family, and she will fight to keep it. From here, the mystery only gets deeper. The strange visitors become impossible to ignore. Hidden secrets begin coming to light, and Grace finally discovers that the truth about the mansion is far more shocking than she ever imagined. But I'll stop right there because the final act is something you should experience for yourself. The Others remains one of the smartest psychological horror movies ever made, relying on atmosphere, suspense, and mystery instead of cheap jump scares. Critics and audiences praised its haunting atmosphere and Nicole Kidman's performance. If you've seen The Others, let me know. Did you figure out the mystery before the ending? Or did the movie completely surprise you? Subscribe to Movie Drip 2 for more movie recaps.